I am so excited for today's conversation with Kasia. Kasia is a friend, a colleague, and a fellow numerologist geek. And I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes today in regards to self-mastery. But I imagine we'll probably pull numerology into the conversation because I know for me personally, it has helped me in my self-mastery journey. And Kasia, I'm sure that's the same for you. So
Absolutely.
thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have you and to dive into this conversation today.
I'm so stoked. Thanks for having me. And yes, all the numerology all the time.
All the numbers all the time. I know, right? It's a language that I speak, that we speak. So tell me a little bit about you and who you are, who you're motivated to serve. Tell me your story a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kasia. I'm a coach, healer, and mentor for spiritual entrepreneurs who are ready to be famous for the work they do in the world. And that used to be a really, really scary thing to say because when my story began, there was a lot of dark nights of the soul, a lot of sobbing, depression, all of that. And it took me a while to get out of that and into this place where I can just like own who I am, own my stuff. And definitely numerology has been a huge piece for helping me make sense of that. When I first started sort of woke up to things like energy and consciousness. My first mentor was Wayne Dyer. I'm sure you've heard of him. And I got his book and I understood nothing, but I wanted to be like him. I wanted to like be the next Wayne Dyer for the world. And even when he passed away in 2015, I think it was, he still continued to like give me gifts, wisdom. And confession, I'm not a huge fan of small children. So even though I've always felt this desire to be a teacher, I'm like, I can't be that teacher because I just wouldn't do a very good job. So I never understood why I wanted to be like Wayne Dyer and teach because I don't have a passion for just like teaching the way, kids are taught. And it wasn't until I discovered numerology and learned all about myself that like my journey made sense, and I understood that's why I took this path of learning about human potential and neuroscience and how language works and how the brain works. And now I have all these pieces and I've been teaching them all along, and now it makes sense.
I love that. And it's almost like following the breadcrumbs, not understanding why you're doing it, but just knowing you do, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So tell us, who are you most motivated to serve? I know you said something about people who want to be famous. So tell me more about that.
Oh my gosh. This is like big paradigm shifting conversation for me because I've known that this is what I call a soul aligned client for about 2 years since I learned my numbers. And it wasn't something that I felt comfortable saying. I'm like, famous, like what? But it's not so much celebrity fame or viral fame or just being like a household name for the sake of being a household name. The person that I am here to serve has this deep desire in their heart. This is why they're a spiritual entrepreneur, because they have a calling to leverage their gift and leverage the influence that comes with being well known. And it doesn't mean you have to, be a star of any kind. It literally just means you serve and you are the best of whatever you are, whether you're a dentist or a coach or a massage therapist, it doesn't matter. But you become so well known for your service in your community or in your country or globally, right? You get to decide how big you go. And then you leverage the influence and the resources that come with that to be able to serve even bigger. So it's really like not just fame for fame's sake, but it's really for the service of it. Does that
Yeah, absolutely.
explain it? Yeah. So I call that sacred fame because it's not the usual 4-letter word that we're used to.
I don't want to be Kim Kardashian, all right?
No, exactly.
Yeah, but I definitely understand that definition of fame, and I like how you've redefined fame because for me, I know I personally want to have a huge impact in the world, and that looks a lot different than the Beyoncés and the Lady Gagas of the world. I mean, that would be cool too, but that's not the kind of fame I'm looking for, right? And I want to be on the stages and impacting lives, not on the stages singing songs.
Right. And then, there's a lot of celebrities who do take that sacred fame path where they, they make their resources and their name, and then they turn that around into having foundations or charities or supporting causes, which is amazing. But it's like the path that my person is taking is different. They're not going after the fame itself. That comes as a result. So it's more of a receiving of it as they do their sacred work in the world.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So good. So let's dive into the self-mastery piece a little bit, because I know you and I've had conversations about this. We're both passionate about self-mastery. So what does it mean to you? Because I find the word self-mastery is like this really subjective thing. It's defined differently for everybody. So what does it mean to you?
To me, self-mastery means being in charge of my own energy, like as often as I can remember. Obviously, this is, it would be great to be in charge all the time, but I don't know that that's possible. Like we're still human. we forget. I forget all the time. But it's like remembering faster that I have a choice, that I actually have control over my thoughts, my emotions, and how I show up in my life. So lots of practice. I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, like I have a spouse, I have a family with all kinds of relationships and friends and whatnot. So there's so much practice every single day. And that's kind of what I've whittled it down to, is if I can be in charge of myself, that's mastery to me.
I love that. And I like that you use the word remembering instead of, trying to figure it out, because we all innately know what that's like, but we forget because of programming and beliefs and everybody else's opinions and all the things. And when we just take a moment to just breathe and remember who we are, we can land into, oh yeah, I have a choice here. I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel this way. And we can redirect. Right?
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. How has self-mastery supported you as an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, it has been everything. And, you and I haven't known each other that long, but we were just in a program together, and I have like ugly cried even now, even though I've been on this journey. My daughter was born in 2004. And so that's kind of when everything started for me. And I started my business in 2010. And it's been, up and down and up and down. And so that following those breadcrumbs, like I mentioned before, and learning so much, not always implementing though, that's the sort of the tricky part of it, is like, I read books and I took courses and I felt so good doing that. And then I would sort of go back into my life and my business and backslide into, the familiar, right? The familiar that my brain was programmed to be. And so being the nerd that I am, and never really being okay with me being mediocre, I would always be like, okay, I did something wrong. I have to read the next book. And eventually somewhere in there, I got the memo that I actually have to take action.
Oh yeah, that's an important piece. Yeah.
Yes. And so the self-mastery, at first, it was like a carrot on a stick that kept me sort of driven, learning and trying to be better. And then I finally realized, well, I don't have to like follow the carrot. I can actually have the carrot, eat the carrot, embody it, and then take the action. And that's where that piece of remembering comes in, because it has allowed me to become a better coach, like become a better space holder and healer for my clients, but then also be kinder for myself, or to myself, and build the business that I want to have. There's obviously pieces in a business that are helpful, but not every business has to follow the same formula. And so this cog of self-mastery has allowed me to attach different cogs to it that I want. Does that make sense?
Oh my God, you are speaking my language. Absolutely. And I mean, that's really the premise of my business and Rebel Radio and all of these things, is that I believe we're meant to do things differently. There is no cookie cutter solution to an online business strategy. And it's about doing what you love and following the breadcrumbs for yourself and not what everybody tells you to do. And that's how I support my clients, is I show them who they are using numerology, and then kind of guide them and say, well, you could do this. How does that feel? You could do this. How does that feel? And they get to choose from there, right? So I love that you bring that up. And it's about doing what works for you.
And it's been the biggest piece is like, it's given me permission to be me. Like, it's reminded me of who I am, and then it's given me permission to be me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So good. What do you find happens for yourself when you don't practice self-mastery?
Insert ugly crying. I've had lots of practicing of not practicing it, like lots of that, because of that it's hard to change sometimes, and we didn't choose all of the conditioning and the programming that is in our brain. We just didn't. But then when we decide, you know what, I'd like to be different. I'd like to be this way. I'd like to be more empowered or more kind or generous or whatever. There's some undoing that has to happen. And sometimes that's really, really infuriating, because you feel like you're showing up, you're meditating, you're doing the things, and you're still not quite the new you that you want to be. And so that process sometimes is really, really hard, which is why having friends, colleagues, like a circle of people around me who will call me on my shit and help me, like, not necessarily look or see something specific, but like show me, okay, let's look this way again. Remember, you're going this way. So focus on that. That's really been helpful. So it's okay to not be perfect. I've really let go of that, like, idol of perfection. I don't think that's reality. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
But I definitely know when I'm not practicing self-mastery, because it's like, I get crazy. I'm a spaz. Like, I'm disorganized, it's not a nice place to be.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good. And I notice it right away when I stop practicing self-mastery. And for me, it's a daily practice all day long. And for me, one of the things is learning to check in with myself in the middle of the day, because I've got my morning routine dialed in, and I start my day self-masterful, and then I'm doing things and I get distracted by notifications and emails and other people and other experiences. And by noon, I'm like, whoa, we got to check back in again. Right. And so, it's a practice every day, all day long. And you notice it the moment things start feeling hard, the emotions are rising up, the tension in the shoulders, all of the things. And you're like, oh, step back.
And that's again where, like, the numerology has been so helpful, because it has allowed me to peel back the layers of conditioning and who I have learned to be, and has allowed me to, like, become who I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it. So one last question. What do you dream of for the world?
Oh boy, it's a good question. I actually think about that all the time, because I hate the term unprecedented times, but it's like, we are living in this time of change, and that's become this buzzword. But I really feel optimistic for us humans. I feel like something has fundamentally shifted. I also firmly believe that the only way that I can change anything in the world is by changing myself and learning as much about myself as I can, which is why I'm obsessed with having these conversations with my kids and my husband, and like anyone who will listen, about this inner work. Because I believe that if we can have a world where we all just love ourselves, like, unconditionally, I mean, not trying to, like, change someone else so that I can love myself, like, absolutely fall in love with myself, and no matter what anyone else is doing or what's happening in the world, I can still love me and be in that frequency. The world would change, and we could do that within a few years if everyone focused on that true, selfless definition of love, self-love. And so I dream of a world where that's how everyone is. You get up in the morning and you do what makes you happy, and you're adding value to the world instead of taking, right? A world of givers, not overgivers.
Yes.
Not takers, but givers, and having that current of love running through. Yeah.
Oh, so powerful. And this is why I love these conversations so much, because I'm lit up and goosebumps and all of the things, because I know every conversation that I have on Rebel Radio is really about up leveling our ability to love ourselves and
Yeah.
practice self mastery. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for being here today, Kasia. I really appreciate you and appreciate this conversation. Is there
Thank you.
anything else you'd like to add before we end this episode?
Let's just keep the conversation going. I think there's a lot out there right now where people are questioning themselves and stuff, and it's okay to be happy. It's okay to love yourself. Period. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kasia.
you. Take care.